I want to talk about mindset shifts because like we've kind of danced between a bunch of different topics. We've done some really spiritual topics like warfare, like assignment, like walking in authority, and we've done some businessy ones. This is more about you today, you and you know, and what's going on inside your coconut, because that's really where it starts, right? That's really where it starts. The Bible tells us that our external world will always be a reflection of our inner world. And so we have to spend time on our inner world if we want to improve our outer world. And so this particular call is more about the mindset shift and really with the focus on 2022. All right. It's going to be here in about 6 minutes, right? You've seen how fast this year is going, right? In 2022 is going to be here in about 6 minutes, and we need to start preparing now. Right. For those of you who have been in my world a little bit, you know that one of my favorite phrases is separation season. And I'm always trying to find those seasons where we can separate ourselves from the pack and be preeminent and stand out. Well, most people are not going to be thinking about 2022 until about February, March 2022. Smart people will start thinking about 2022 in November 2021 to get their heart right, to get their head right, to get their thoughts right, so that they come out of the blocks incredibly fast and then separate themselves from the pack. And so that's really what this call is all about. I'm going to run through 5. The best one is the last one. Why? Because I want to keep you on here until the end. All right. So the best one is the last one on purpose. And then, of course, I'll open for some questions and you can ask questions and things like that. All right. Mindset shift number 1 to make the most of 2022 is you need to have a wealth target for next year. You need to have a wealth target. So I didn't say a revenue target. I didn't say a profit target. I said a wealth target. Okay. So when I say those things and I get to kind of look around the screens and I get to see all your lovely faces, and I don't know whether any of you have ever been a speaker of sorts, but when you're a speaker, a strange thing happens. A little thought bubble pops up above your head and I can see what's going on inside your head. It's really interesting. I got to get a read on each of you when I just said you got to have a wealth target for 2022. And here's a lot of what I saw. I saw inner conflict. Oh my gosh, that just messes with me. I haven't made any money so far. I'm probably not going to make any money next year. Yeah, oh, well, I don't know that wealth is of the Lord. I don't know. I was told we should live without money. I don't know. And there's this constant wrestle that's taking place. And some of you went the other way and went, yeah, right, 6.3 billion. And so far you've got 6 coins in the ashtray of your car and you've set a goal that's ridiculous. Okay, so when I say you've got to have a wealth target, it's got to be a stretch, but it's got to be tangible. You need a wealth target. And I'll tell you what's really interesting for me. Here's why. Some of why I'm bringing this up is just to give you permission. Some of you need permission. Not all of you, but some of you just need permission. It's okay to go into the marketplace, to build revenue and profit and invest that profit into assets so that you increase your wealth. Totally okay. Let me explain why. We all bring different gifts and talents to the table in the kingdom of God. If you were running Sunday school, right, kids' church, if that was your assignment, was to run kids' church, by the way, that's far more celebrated than somebody who is called to go and build a business to fund the advancing of the kingdom. Crazy. But how do you build a good kids' church? You need funding, right? So, but that's like if you should have a goal for that, right? If you're running kids' church, you should have a kids' church goal for the fact that you're doing that as your assignment. Your assignment is going to the marketplace, making more money than you need so that you can fund whatever God puts on your heart. That's one of the gifts that we bring to advancing the kingdom of God as marketplace people. It's not the only gift, but it's one of the major gifts, is that we don't have a limit on the amount of money we can earn. We can make more profit than we need as a family or as an individual, and we can use that money for good, right? But you've got to have a target. And here's why. I like to read literature and papers around psychology. I find them interesting. And one of the ones that repeats time and time again, and I guess the proponent of this is Jordan Peterson, who I massively respect. And it goes along the lines like this. If you have a goal, right, a wealth target, the more integrated that goal is across more areas of your life, the happier your life is. So when you set a wealth goal, right, you pick a figure, when it integrates, like it means I can, like, so it's a wealth goal for my business. So I had to grow my business. That's good. That's one area that I want. It also means that I can, put my kids through school. Great. It means that I can enjoy good holidays with my family. Great. When the goal integrates into more areas of your life, that leads people to be generally happier in their day-to-day, right? And it kind of makes total sense. So it's not having the goal, it's not having the target that brings you happiness, because you can have a target and you could not integrate it with any other area of your life, and it will actually cause you unhappiness. You can pursue a goal of wealth and not integrate it, like have nobody else benefits in your life, and you'll actually be unhappy. So when you set a wealth target, have a wealth target that integrates into your family life, into your faith life. Like when you decide to have a wealth target, which means you're going to fund your church as part of your new building program, or the church needs some new staff member and you're going to fund it. You're integrating more areas of your life into that target, because now your faith journey, your church journey, right, is also kind of in line with that target. So I want to give you permission, you need to set a wealth target for 2022. That may take you a little while to get to, but I'm going to give you 30 seconds now to write down your first number. You may go away and workshop that number and change it, up it, down it, whatever. But just going off what I've just said, going off unction, I want you to set a target right now on paper and put down a number for me, right? Take 30 seconds and do that now. All right, very good. The second mindset shift that you need if you're going to make the best of 2022 is to understand this. COVID-19 is as bad as it gets. What we've just been through is as bad as it gets. See that should bring a sigh of relief for some of you. That's as bad as it gets. You go back through history and you look at, say, the GFC, right? For those of you who are in business, through that 2008 to 2012 time, it was a tough period of time, but it wasn't universally tough. The market tanked to half, right? And I'm kind of going off Western markets. I don't know that I looked broader than that, but the Western markets went to half, right? So that was a big issue, but that was only really for the market, right? That didn't affect, interestingly enough, petrol came down, cost of food came down, like there was no liquidity, you couldn't borrow any money, that's what stymied the market. But there wasn't, like, the small businesses didn't really suffer unless you'd over-leveraged. If you'd over-leveraged before it, then you were in a whole world of pain. But if you were just running a business and you could still run a business, I started my coaching practice 9 months before the GFC hit, and I grew it 400% through the first 4 years of the GFC, because it didn't matter. Like, I wasn't going to raise money and I wasn't exposed to the capital markets. And so it was fine. Like, it hurt pockets, but it didn't hurt universally, right? Go back to the stock market crash, right? Actually, you go to the dot-com bubble of 99, 2000, right? Another blip on the radar, but again, only the markets. And that does have a little trickle down on housing prices, but it's a blip on the radar, right? Go back to the recession of the 80s, same sort of thing, right? You go back 100 years to the last pandemic, and it was a little bit like this one. But I guess, what I'm trying to say to you is, if you're still in business today, whatever it is, 19, 20 months after the pandemic started, you need to be able to look yourself in the mirror and smile at yourself and give yourself a hug and a pat on the back and say, that's as bad as it gets, and I'm still standing. everything from here is cream, right? Everything from here is cream. Sure, there's going to be another problem. We've got inflation happening around the world right now at an unhealthy rate. Hopefully they can work out how to slow that so that it catches up. But if it doesn't, there'll be a correction, but that correction will be in the capital markets really, and maybe the high-end property market around the Western world. But it's like from here, it's just cream. Okay, so let me put it to you this way. Some of you guys, because I talk to you and you're in my world, some of you not, and I just know that this would be broader because it's just how humans are wired. Some of you guys judge yourself like crazy. I'm not good enough. I've got imposter syndrome. My mum took me off the potty too young. Like my teacher said I wasn't going to be very good. And like some of you are heaping so much judgment on yourself. Well, here's what I would say in contradiction to that. You need to see it as it is, but not worse than it is. If you're going to give yourself a harsh judgment, then you've also got to give yourself praise where it's due. You cannot just have it one way and expect to last the distance. So sure, go ahead, beat yourself up for all your wrongdoings. But at the same time, you've got to be able to spot the things that you do well and keep them in balance. And the fact that you're still in business today, and some of you have grown a business during this time, you've got to be able to give yourself daps for being able to do that. It cannot be one way, all right? You've got to be able to throw your chest back a little bit, puff yourself up a little bit and say, yeah, might not have been, wasn't clean, was horribly messy. I wasn't my best, but I got through the worst. And so from here on in, the disciplines that I've just introduced into my life to get through COVID are going to make me better. You've got to kind of see it exactly what it is, right? And stop judging yourself. And if you're going to judge yourself, that's fine, but give yourself daps at the same time. The third shift that you need to make in your mind, this is a more practical one, is this one. Safe money is lazy money. Safe money is lazy money. Across the world right now, we have had trillions of dollars of stimulus money, right? Flooded into the markets. In Australia, that number is just north of $250 billion of stimulus money borrowed and printed by, from the International Monetary Fund and flushed into the Australian economy. Most of it is still stored up and dammed up by people who are just holding on to what they got. Now, if you're not the beneficiary of direct stimulus money, you're probably still sitting on cash because you couldn't spend it when the shops weren't open. So that, the buffer gets a little bit bigger. And even if you're not the recipient of stimulus money and you didn't actually save up anymore, the next 3 years of prosperity means that you're probably going to come into some more if you just do a good job in business. So no matter where you sit across that realm, the trap for most people is they have just become really comfortable with having a buffer. Now, I personally believe, right, that safe money is lazy money. So what you don't want to do, because the opposite of not having a buffer is your back's up against the wall, and when your back's up against the wall, you fight harder. So some of you need to create a scenario where your back's up against the wall because it will make you better and sharper and more hungry to fix the situation, right? So you need to take the money you've got and, I love Dave Ramsey, but Ramsey would be telling you to squirrel it all away and don't buy that latte because then you can get $6 off your mortgage. I mean, cool. Well, if you're dealing with, people that are on minimum wage, that's probably the best outcome that they could hope for, right? But I'm not thinking that way. I tell you what I find interesting. The whole concept of cash, Ramsey would say, save it and pay off your debts. I'm like, cash is the stupidest thing to hold on to. Like literally the stupidest thing that you can do with money is hang on to it. And I'll tell you why. Because the $100 that you had in your pocket in March of 2020, pre-COVID, is worth $87 today. I don't know what the number is, but that $100, the buying power of that $100 that you had pre-pandemic is at least 15% eroded today. Like for those of you who have tried to buy a car, Like you try and buy a secondhand car. I don't know what I see stories of what it's like in the UK, the USA, and I know here in Australia and Asia Pacific, like I know those rules. Like, it's great if you're selling one, but it's really bad if you're buying one, right? So what was originally a $50,000 car is now 72, right? And so what you do is you end up buying a new one and then you wait. I just ordered a truck for my American friends. It's only a little truck for you, but it's a big truck for us here in Australia. I ordered a truck in April, right? And I'm going to be picking it up, I don't know, they tell me this month. Like, you know, the supply chain's been so bad. So when you've got money makes you lazy, and safe money, squirreling it away, is lazy. Let me put it to you this way. I can understand somebody who wants to save up gold. I can understand, I don't, because I think it's a bad strategy, but I can understand why somebody would want to save precious metals. And the reason being is there's a finite supply, okay? Right, there's a finite supply of gold. I can understand why people would want to, like collect property or stocks, right? Because they have intrinsic value. Cash is getting printed every single month. Why would you go out of your way to collect something that they can just make more of on demand? Supply and demand tells you that holding on to cash is a really bad idea. Like I studied economics in year 11 of high school. And supply and demand was the first lesson, which I think was a mistake, because from a kingdom worldview, the first lesson in economics is serve others and not yourself. That's the kingdom worldview, but I went to a state school, right? Supply and demand was it. So why would you store up something that is flooded with, right? It just means that the value of it's going down, 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 and you're trying to hang on to it because you feel like it gives you some sort of security. Listen, speaking about security, let me tell you where security should come from, right? Look at the birds of the air. They do not spin, they do not toil, and yet God feeds them. That's where your security should come from, not those few little notes in the bank account or a handful of coins that you've decided to keep. All right, safe money is lazy money. So put it to work. Where do you put it to work? Well, you can choose and get some advice, but you should put it into stocks. That's a good place because they have intrinsic value. They have underlying profit-producing activity. Managed funds, right? Index funds, so you can diversify. That's a good idea. Property, that's a really good idea. That's where I use for my store of wealth. But the number one place, if you want to work out how to maximize 2022 to put your money so it's not lazy, is into your marketing machine, right? Into your testing machine. Like if you know that you can put $100 into marketing and pull out $1,000, that's where your money should go, right? Like you're not going to get that return anywhere in the world ever, right? So that's where you should put your money. And if you don't have, by the way, if you're sitting there going, yeah, but I don't have a machine where I could put in 100 and pull out 1,000, that's what the money's for now. Go and test enough campaigns that you can work out which ones give you a return, right? Even if it's put 100 in and pull 200 out of profit, you've doubled your money. If you can do that in a month, that's 1,200% return on your money in a year. Just keep putting it back in. So maybe you don't have the machine built yet where you can put $1 in and pull out 5. So then you take the money that you've got, which is safe money, and you decide to create 36 different pieces of content, and you put that out across social media as ads, not content, and you give each of those 36 pieces the same budget, $100, whatever, $50, and you measure which one's getting the best results. Out of those 36, you'll have 3 that go well, 9 that do okay, and the rest choke. Excellent. Now you've worked out what works, and you just put all of your money into the 3. That's where your safe money goes if you want to really play this game. The fourth mindset that you're going to have to shift if you want to maximize next year is cut the competing interests. Cut your competing interests. You're called to the marketplace. You need to jealously guard what's important. So in my life, there's a few things that are incredibly important. There's my walk with the Lord. There's my wife and my 3 young girls. And there's my business. And that is pretty much the extent of my list. Well, what do you do for downtime? Business. But what do you do to unwind? Business. Yeah, but how do you decompress? Business. Now, that may not be the same for every single one of you. I get that. Some of you need to like play golf with the boys on a Saturday morning for 4 hours and neglect your family. I get it. Some of you need to do it that way as well. Some of you need 3 weeks surfing trip with your mates, which is just code for like, I don't like my family because I haven't invested in them enough, so I need to be away. Listen, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy other things, but so many of you guys say yes to so many things that possibly aren't the Lord asking you to do them. And so you end up fracturing your time. You know, the reason why an arrow is so powerful is because it has one single point of entry. And yet we're trying to push ourselves through life and be successful, and we've got like 7 points on the arrow and wondering why there's so much drag that we never penetrate anything. So I'll give you an example. When somebody at your church says, hey, we need somebody to be on the chairs ministry, which I don't understand how that's a ministry, but they'll call it a ministry to guilt you into doing it. And you're like, yeah, okay. And so now you're there 3 hours early and 3 hours late because chairs ministry comes into dishwashing ministry. And I'm like, wow, you just lost 6 hours of your 168 hours this week. And no, I'm not saying don't serve. I'm like just go and be a good member of your church. But when here's what you want to discern. Are the things that I'm doing with my time what the Lord asked me to do, or are they just good works? Because they are jeopardizing your ability to maximize your assignment, which is to go to the marketplace. Right? And you've got to give an account for those gifts and talents at the end of your life of what you did, where he called you in the marketplace. And when you say, oh, well, I'm a people pleaser, God, and I said yes to everybody because I wanted their validation, I wasn't very good at business because I didn't give it my attention, I don't know that that's going to cut through. Now, that might be a little bit harsh, and some of you have heard it before, but you're going to hear it again. One of the most anointed words in the English dictionary is the word no. And you know what I love so much about the word no? It's actually a complete sentence. It doesn't need anything before it or anything after it. Hey, Wes, can you come and sit on the board of... Nope. Hey, Wes, we're really looking for somebody that can step up. Nope. Because if I say yes to those things and then someone pitches me a business deal, I can't say yes to it because I'm tied up over here. And I'm pretty convinced that the enemy would have you running around chasing all these things that look good, but they weren't the thing that God would have you doing towards your assignment. And so you may actually have to go back and have some hard questions with people and start to cut off the competing interests in your life and be humble enough to let them down and apologize. I'm sorry, I never intended to let you down, but I've got to focus on this thing over here, and I've got to say no to that thing there, and I never intended to, and I'm really sorry that I'm letting you down, and I help you for a little bit to do a transition, but I'm out because I've got to go over here and do my thing, all right? You've got to be prepared to cut the competing interest. The fifth one, the final one, the one that I said is the best. I don't know if it is the best. I was just trying to keep you here. You can decide. All right, listen to this. Listen to this. Let me just find it again. Proverbs 10:22. You'll probably get there before me. Proverbs 10:22 says this. The blessing of the Lord makes one rich. Yeah, all right, so I didn't even get an amen, a hallelujah, a cheer, a rah-rah. I got nothing out of you guys. Hello, is this thing on? Okay, I'll go back to the very beginning. The blessing of the Lord makes one rich. All right, we've got some work to do. Maybe we've got to get some coffee up in this place. All right. But this is the bit that's really important.
We're all
But he adds no sorrow to it. The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, right? So all the friends that you've got that are trying to pull you down and make you play small because you're trying to go for money, get new friends. The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. Some of you are like, man, I got some sorrow. Yeah, but there's a blessing coming that's going to make you rich that has no sorrow attached to it. I'm doing a deal at the moment that's come out of left field that adds absolutely no sorrow, and I absolutely love it. And it's with good people, and it's going to make a lot of money. That's just how it is, right? So the blessing of the Lord will make one rich, and it'll add no sorrow to it. Now look at this. Listen, watch this. That was Proverbs 10:22. Proverbs 10:22, the blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. Now let's look at this. 1 Kings 10:22. Work that out for Bazaar. 1 Kings 10:22. So we did Proverbs 10:22, 1 Kings 10:22. Talking about Solomon and his great wealth. And it says this: the king had merchant ships, right? You may know of them as the ships of Tarshish. And Tarshish was a port city that was ridiculously wealthy, right? So the king had merchant ships at sea with the fleet of Hiram. Listen to this. Once every 3 years, the merchant ships came bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and monkeys. Today, everyone wants a tiger on a gold leash because that's what you do for Instagram. But back then in Solly's day, it was apes and monkeys. All right. So listen to this. Every 3 years, the ships of Tarshish would travel around the nearby islands, gathering gold, silver, apes, monkey, and bring them back to build Solomon's wealth. He didn't ask for it. They just go do it. Right? But what's the caveat to this? Solomon, at this point, was living on assignment. He was doing exactly the work that the Lord had him do. And because he was doing the work that the Lord had him do, these ships of Tarshish, would, of their own volition, would go around to the neighboring islands, gather wealth, and bring it back so that Solomon could do his assignment. Because when you're on assignment and when you're doing the thing that the Lord has you do, which for us is to go into the marketplace to build a great business so that we're profitable and influential, that's us. When you're living on assignment, the Lord creates a way for blessing to come to you, and he adds no sorrow to it. You need to start to get your head around the fact that when you are doing your assignment into 2022, you've got to start to expect next year that the kingdom of heaven is going to back you when you do the things you want to do and you're called to do. And when the kingdom of heaven backs you and you're doing the thing, you're actively engaged in your assignment. When you're doing that, you need to expect that heaven is going to find a way to bring you more and bring you opportunity that you never could have created on your own. That is how you walk supernaturally as a kingdom entrepreneur. And it's also when you experience that, you stand in such awe of God because you never could have created that outcome yourself. It's really humbling when the vast majority of your increase has come from none of your own effort, right? Because you don't get bragging rights then to your own success. But the caveat here is you've got to be doing the thing that the Lord wants you to do, not chasing all these other fantasies, not chase people pleasing, but doing your assignment. And when you do it, you need to expect next year, you need to expect that the Lord will bring a blessing to make you rich and I'll add no sorrow to it. And your version of the ships of Tarshish will be that heaven will find opportunities and bring them to you so that you can do something that you can't do by yourself. Guys, you've been a massive blessing to me as I get here to stand here and pour into you. Please do me a favor. Go find some people to tell about the movement. Send them the link, bring them to the next one, hound them, right? I want to be able to invest in them as much as I do in you. For those of you, so December, just put it in your diary right now. For those of you who are in the US, it'll be the first Monday of December, right? 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. or wherever you are in the country, this time. For those of you who are in Australia and so forth, it's this time if you want to be on this call. It'll be the it'll be the first Tuesday in December for those of you who are in Australia or on the Southern Hemisphere. All right, it's this time next month. Put it in your diary, and I look forward to seeing you then. Bless you.